Yeah, before I start my questions, I want to emphasize what's been said here, and you've already responded to it as positively an update as you could about reconsidering prosecution of these people that weren't doing their job and taking action appropriate. I sent a letter to Attorney General Garland along the same line, the very same day I think that we had this hearing. Now to my first question. It starts out with the fact that VAWA's passed the House of Representatives. On that bill, certain prosecutor groups have flagged for us something concerning with that. Business community has raised questions about unemployment benefits uh, uh, that are in that program could undermine the stability of the unemployment system. I hope that we can reach a bipartisan agreement to move a bill forward. Short of that, I hope we can continue to do what we've done to reauthorize VAWA because it's a very important program that must be continued. So my question is based on the fact that I believe 90 to 95% of what on the table in regard to VAWA is agreed to. But then there's certain outstanding things. Is the department supportive of ensuring that the existing VAWA programs are extended, for example, through the end of the year so that the bipartisan negotiations can continue on a longer-term reauthorization message?
Well, Mr. Ranking Member, first I want to thank you for your support in the past of the reauthorization of VAWA and the exceptionally important provisions, not only the major funding and the formula grant programs and important grant programs that provide services to victims, but also the rural grant programs, which I know is exceptionally important to you. And so I thank you for your work and your support in the past. And we look forward to continuing to work with you and the other bipartisan senators who were here before. I think it's very important that we move urgently to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act. And of course, we are grateful that the Congress, when the Violence Against Women Act lapsed, that the funding programs continued to be funded because they, as we know, provide urgent services. But as Senator Ernst and others said, it is very important that we strengthen, improve, and indeed modernize the Violence Against Women Act. So we stand ready to work with you, Senator, and others to make sure we can get that done.
Okay. Some years ago, this committee approved the Survivors' Bill of Rights for sexual assault. This year, I'm working with colleagues on related legislation that would provide states with additional funding under the STOP formula grant program authorized by VAWA if they adopt legislation to implement these same rights at the state level. I remain concerned, however, that only a minority of sexual assault victims come forward and report the crime. Other than adopting the Survivors' Bill of Rights, what additional steps might federal, state, local authorities take to encourage more victims of sexual assault to report the crime and cooperate in its investigation?
Well, first, Senator, thank you for your leadership on ensuring survivors, regardless whether in the state system or the federal system, receive the services and the rights that they deserve. I think the simple answer to your question, Senator, is reauthorization of VAWA, and it is at the levels that the president has sought, because that will expand the much needed, indeed urgently needed services. I spent some time with a number of advocates last week. And I heard from them that, frankly and unfortunately, the demand for services is far outpacing the availability of those services. We have waiting lines at places like rape trauma and rape crisis centers, critical rape crisis centers that VAWA funds. So I think the simple answer, Senator, is reauthorization and the increased funding that the president is seeking.
Okay, my last question will have to be about the federal courts having authority to award restitution for certain losses incurred by victims of crime in federal cases. And the Government Accountability Office recommended several years ago that the Department of Justice implement performance measures and goals for the collection of restitution. To what extent has DOJ implemented those reforms, and what can you tell us about the subject?
Well, Senator, I'll have to go back and look at that specific report and our responses, although I know that we take very seriously reports from whether it's the GAO or the IG, and particularly when it comes to stewardship of federal dollars.
Could you respond to that in writing then?
I'd be happy to, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Senator Grassley. Senator